Hello, welcome to Chapter 1, Understanding 3D Space. So we've put together here is just a little document to show the difference between 2D space and our 3D space. So on the right is our 2D space, where we have a horizontal and vertical space that we're used to making up a document in any 2D application. And within this document, we can use any of the colors that we have within our color wheel to paint and make an image. Now we have our 3D space, which now is giving us 3D objects or shapes. We also have a perspective camera, which is instantly going to give us our perspective, so we don't have to draw that. And you'll find in many applications, including the ZBrushCore, there'll be a floor grid. That floor grid is going to help us establish our 3D space and show us our XYZ axes. But before we get in the axis, let's talk a little bit more about a 3D shape. Some terminology you may have already heard is geometry or topology. So every 3D shape is made up of geometry. So let's take a look at what exactly is geometry. So let's first start with the face, or the polygon face. So we have a cube here, which is six-sided. So every side is considered one polygon face in this example. So this is indicated by that green box at each face. Within the middle of that polygon face, there's a polygon normal. This is showing the direction that the face is pointing towards within the 3D space. So after we have a polygon face, where each polygon face meets, creates a vertex point. And here are our vertex points. So you can see in this example, every purple pink dot here is a vertex point. And you'll see that the faces will share a vertex point. So in this corner here, that vertex point is actually being part of this polygon face, this one, as well as this polygon face. And then in between each vertex point, we're going to find our polygon edges. So you can see these blue lines are indicating a polygon edge. So in essence, a 3D mesh or shape is made up of a polygon face, which has polygon edges leading to a vertex point. So now that we have a basic understanding of what makes up a 3D mesh, let's take a look at those world axis points. So in the 2D space, we have our vertical and we have our horizontal space. But in the 3D world, we have three axis points. We got an X, a Y, and a Z. So our X is always the left, right of our world. The Y is always the up, down, and the Z is always our front, back. So within the ZBrushCore, you're going to see that in most cases, any model that you're going to start, you're going to want to have the front of the face of the model facing the Z positive world. So this blue line is indicating the positive value of Z, opposite side of course being the negative. So this green arrow is the positive Y, or the up in the world. The opposite way is negative, or the down. And then we have our left, right, red axis. So now that we have these axis points, we can start using the 3D space to create a depth within the model as well. So this is just a simple heat map showing 3D depth on the shape. So now that we have a perspective camera that is being moved around within 3D space, this map is showing this particular point here is the closest point to the camera, and the more red you get, that's the further more depth you're getting in 3D space. Not only do we have depth, but we can also have color. So now we can take advantage of not only painting in just 2D space, but we can paint different colors along the depth of our object. So in this example, we have this pink point here, or that pink vertex point. In the back vertex, we've got green. So now ZBrush is going to know this as poly paint, is what we call painting any kind of object within ZBrushCore. Besides color, we also can have lights. So in this example, I've turned on one light, indicating that this light is shining on only this portion of our cube. And notice that we can even change the color of the light. So not only can we color the object or shape itself, we can even add color to the light. And once we have lights, we can now have 3D shadows. So here you can see we have now a nice 3D shadow that is dependent upon where the light sits in our 3D space. So now that we have a general understanding of the difference between 2D space and 3D space, let's jump in to the ZBrushCore and take a look at this space in action. Okay, here we are in our ZBrushCore world, and you can see we have a sculpt of a human head. You can see our floor grid that the head is sitting on. So take a look at the bottom of our floor grid, and you will see those blue, red, and green lines that we were previously talking about. So that blue line right here is indicating the positive Z of the world. So that's the front of the world. The green line is indicating the positive up. So that's the up part of the world. And then you have your red line, which is the right side of the world. That is making up our 3D space. So along with that, we have our 3D shape, or we're going to call sculpt from here on out, in the middle of our space. So this is a human head. So let's turn on our polyframe mode using Shift F, or clicking on the button here to the right of our document. And you can see all the polygon faces that are making up the face. So each one of these are our polygon face. Notice that the brush system is automatically snapping to what, again, we call vertex point. So each one of those vertex points have a polygon edge in between them, which are making up our polygon faces. This is, in fact, what we're sculpting on and painting on within the ZBrushCore world. Among the world is, of course, our perspective camera. So right now, our perspective camera is on. I know this by this button right here to the right. We have a P also showing that that's our shortcut. So if we were to hit P, you can see the difference between not having a perspective camera and then putting our perspective camera back on. So again, we're off and it's on. So just having that already is great for us to create any kind of sculpt we're looking to be in a perspective world. So once we have a perspective world, we have our 3D space understanding, we need to look at what a light can do. So let's turn off our polyframe mode, and up here along the top menu, and you're going to learn more about the UI in Chapter 2, so please feel free to carry on and watch that next chapter. So here is our light source that we have one light turned on. This little dot right here is going to move our light. So you'll notice as I move this dot, notice the head also is being updated because this is our light source that lights our object. And notice that where our light is how shadows, which we call preview shadows within the ZBrushCore, are going to lay on the model. So this is going to be dependent upon how the model is facing the light source. And not only do we have a preview shadows, but we also have a rendered shadows. So you can render right within ZBrush, and you notice at render time, we now have a distinctive shadow cast that's being controlled by where that light is within our ZBrush world. The last thing we want to look at is color information. So you can see over here to the left, I can switch to any color, and you can see I can start filling even this object with any color within the spectrum. We will be covering more about color polypaint in future chapters of this video series. But that's the basics of using a 3D space compared to a 2D space. Thank you for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video, which will be Chapter 2, exploring the UI of the ZBrushCore. Thank you, and happy ZBrushing.